Hi everyone, welcome to Nithrania Game Club. My name is Branislav Berec and you're watching Game in a Nutshell, a series of videos designed to teach how to play various board games. Today we'll learn how to play Monster Slaughter, although as you can see I don't have the English version of the game, I only have the Czech version. And I was able to get hold of some English cards, so where it really made sense, I have re-recorded certain parts of this tutorial with the English version of the cards. And in other places you will still see non-English text, but it has no effect on the rules explanation. So here it is. First, assemble the cabin, and then it's time to invite the guests. You can find the list of guests in the rulebook. Place the guest cards next to the player board. Place the guest tokens onto these square spots with the color cubes. And according to the health points of each guest, take the corresponding color cube and place it onto this wound track. For example, Bob has 4 health points, so the green cube will be placed on the number 4. And finally, take the miniatures and place them on the guest tokens. Then place 5 bone tokens next to the wound track, and each player will receive a set of 5 victim tokens. We will set up a 3-player game, that's why we have 3 sets. Now prepare the deck of nocturnal events. First, set aside the Knock Knock card. Then randomly select and shuffle 7 cards from the nocturnal event cards and put the rest back into the box. Once these 7 cards are shuffled, take the Knock Knock card and shuffle it into the first 3 cards of the deck. When you're done, place these cards on top and you have the nocturnal deck ready. For your very first game, if you want, you can completely leave out the Knock Knock card and take another card instead, so you will have a deck of 8 random cards. Put the deck onto the game board and put the full moon token on top of it. Each player will then choose a family and will take corresponding miniatures and cards. We will use these 3 families for our demo. For each family chosen, take 5 object cards with the same color in a bottom right corner. Then randomly add 3 trap cards, those are the cards with this symbol in the bottom right corner. And finally add 7 random bonus action cards. Shuffle all these cards together to form the game deck. If you want to spice up the game, add 5 random neutral cards. Then the cards from the game deck will be distributed into the game rooms. Each room will contain a certain number of cards depending on the number of players, as indicated by these charts. If you use those 5 neutral cards, each room will have 1 more card than indicated. Now take all the 5 guest cards, shuffle them, and then randomly place 1 card on top of each deck. Each player will now take these 5 victim tokens and secretly determine from left to right the death order of the guests. In addition, each player will place 1 target token on one of the selected victims. This is a favorite meal, and if player manages to kill this guest, he will score a bonus point. In the Monster Slaughter game, players will use their minis to search through the rooms in this house to find these guests, to kill them and gain victory points. Players will score victory points for wounding or killing the guests, and player with the most victory points is the winner. In order to search the room, players will have to search the corresponding deck of cards. Every deck contains several types of cards like objects, bonus actions for the players, but also traps that will slow down or stop the player. When the guest card will be revealed, a corresponding mini will be placed onto the game board, and this guest can now be attacked. The player who accumulates the most victory points for the biggest slaughter is the winner. In the first round of the game, randomly chosen first player will take his turn with one of his minis. Then the corresponding creature card has to be flipped face down, and then the second player will do the same, will take a move with one of his minis, and again flip the corresponding card face down. The third player will also take his turn and flip the card face down, and the first round is over. Place the full moon token onto the midnight spot and draw the first nocturnal event card. This card will affect the next round of the game. Now it's the orange player's turn again, but he cannot use the mini whose card is already face down. So he has to take a turn with another miniature and again flip that miniature card face down. Also, the purple player has to choose another miniature and also flip that card face down. And of course, the green player will do the same on his second turn. Place the full moon token to the 1 o'clock spot. Discard the nocturnal event card from the previous round. Draw another card which will affect the next round of the game. For this round, all players now only have one mini available, which they will use and take their turns. And also flipping the last miniature card face down. Move the full moon token to the 2 o'clock spot, and this number is in red color, which means that all the monster cards will be now turned face up. The nocturnal event from the previous round will be discarded and the new one will be drawn, and the next round can begin, in which, because all the cards are now face up, players can use any of their available miniature. At 5 o'clock, which is again in red color, once you move the full moon, discard the old nocturnal event and draw the new one. All the monster cards will be turned face up again, and for the next round, players can take a turn with any of their available miniature. When the full moon token will be moved to the 8 o'clock in the morning spot, and some of the guests are still reluctant to die and they are still running around, all players will have one more final round to play. There will be no nocturnal card event for this round. All the cards will be flipped face up again, which means that in this final round of the game, players can use any of their available mini. After final round of the game will end, even if some of those guests will be still alive. Each player has 3 miniatures: father, mother, and a baby. Each miniature has its own number of actions available and the number of dice they will use during their actions. Babies are full of energy, so they have the most actions available but the least amount of dice. Daddies are the most powerful but with fewer actions. In addition, each family has a special ability and you can find their description in the rulebook. On your turn, you will always have one free move action. Then you can play as many actions as are depicted on the monster card, and you can choose one of 6 available actions which we will describe in a moment, and they can all be the same or different. You can also play any number of bonus action cards from your hand, and you can play all these actions in any order you want. So for example, you can have the one free movement as the last action of your turn. There are 4 outside zones in the game, each adjacent to one side of the house, and 5 inside zones or rooms. When you first place your mini onto the game board, you have to place it into one of the outside zones. When you take a move action, you can take your mini from one zone to an adjacent zone. Either from outside zone to the inside zone or from one inside to another inside zone. However, you can only move between zones if there is no door or barricade in place. So you can only take a move if the door has already been smashed. When you take a peek action, you can take a peek at the first card of the corresponding deck. You can only take a peek action in a specific room if you are located in that room or in an adjacent zone that has a door into that room, whether smashed or not. So you can take a peek into this room from this outside zone, or from a living room, or from this room. This mini can only peek into the bathroom, which is the only room with the door here, and you can only peek into the toilet from the living room. If the green player would decide to peek into this room, he would take the top card of the deck, secretly look at that card and place it back on top of the deck. If you want to search the room with your mini, your miniature has to be present in that room. To take the search action, roll as many dice as depicted on the monster card. Don't forget about the special abilities. Golems can roll one additional die. When you roll the dice, count the number of these symbols. These are successes. These red crosses are failures. For each success symbol, draw one card from the deck which corresponds to the room you are searching. Draw the cards one by one, and when you draw the bonus action, put it into your hand. When you draw the object card, put it into your hand as well. Because we rolled 2 successes, our search action would be now over. If you would draw a trap card, you have to apply its effects immediately. Traps can actually stop your search. When you search the room and you manage to draw the guest card, take the appropriate miniature and place it into that room on the game board. You can have maximum 7 cards in hand, so when you do the search action and you already have the 7 cards, stop immediately. To scare a guest must be visible. You can use the scare action to move the miniature into another room, and if the room is empty and there are no miniatures in there, the guest can hide in that room again. To scare a guest, the miniature you're using to scare the guest must be in the same room or in any adjacent zone, whether there is a door or not. If this purple miniature would like to scare this guest, first check the number of dice to be rolled and then roll those dice. You can move the scared guest up to as many zones as there were successes rolled on the dice. But there are few additional rules. First, guests can never go outside. Second, the scared guest cannot end his movement in the same room as the miniature that scared him. They can move through the door, which they leave intact, they sort of open and close them, but they can never go through the barricades. If, in this example, the door would be here, the guest would be allowed to move into this room, and because this room has no miniatures of any players, the guest will hide again. Place the miniature back onto its token, take the guest card and shuffle it into the deck of cards corresponding to the room in which the guest is hiding. When you're done shuffling, return the deck of cards back into its position. In case there are more miniatures in the same room, you have to decide and only scare one of them. To smash a door, you have to be in the zone adjacent to that door. To be successful, you need at least 1 success. When you're successful, take the door and place it next to your play area. It's worth 1 victory point. In addition, when you smash the door, immediately take the deck of cards corresponding to that room and shuffle that deck. The door remains open unless someone manages to place a barricade there. To smash a barricade, you need at least 2 successes, and when you smash the barricade, take it out, but there are no points awarded for it. You can only attack a guest if you are in the same room as that guest. Then each opponent can offer 1 card which the guest can use as a defense against the attacking player. These cards provide dice that the guest will roll against the attacking player, but the guest can only use 1 of these cards, so the opponents have to make a choice. The number of dice that the card provides is listed in the bottom left corner. If the symbol in the bottom right corner of the object card is the same as the symbol of the attacking family, this card provides 1 additional die. Object cards used in a fight are then discarded. For our demonstration, let's say the guest will be using this particular card, which means he will use this die and a bonus die. The attacking monster can use 3 dice plus 1 die from the special ability. Keep in mind that all the guests also have some special abilities. After rolling dice, there are 3 possible outcomes. This guest has a special ability which automatically cancels out 1 success of a monster. Then, if the attacking monster has the equal number of successes as the guest, nothing happens. In this second example, after applying the special abilities, the attacking monster has 2 more successes than the guest, which means the monster deals 2 hits. Mark the hits on the wound track, and for each hit dealt, the attacking monster will get 1 flesh token. Each flesh token is worth 2 victory points. And finally, after applying special abilities, if the guest has more successes than the monster is ejected from the zone. If it's in the toilet, the monster would be ejected into the living room. From all other rooms, the monster is ejected outside. If the monster is ejected through the closed door, the door is smashed, but there are no points awarded for that. If there are no other monsters in the room, the guest will hide immediately. Again, the guest card is shuffled into the deck. Ejected monster can still use any remaining actions. If Brittany would only have 2 health points at the start of our example, and this would be the outcome of a die roll, so Brittany would lose additional 2 health points, Brittany's life journey would be over. For these 2 wounds inflicted, the attacking monster would get 2 flesh tokens, and in addition to that, he would also get a bone token, which is also worth 2 victory points. Now each player will reveal the corresponding victim token from their death order. If the death order is correct, the player will receive the brain token, which is worth 3 victory points. If the victim token would be in the incorrect position, the player would get no points. If the victim was killed by a player who marked that victim with the favorite meal token, that player will receive additional bonus token, which is worth 5 victory points at the end of the game. If the surprise visitor is killed, the player is awarded only the flesh tokens for the wounds inflicted, but there is no bone token awarded, and the death order and the favorite meal token evaluations are also skipped. When the last student is killed and all the surprise visitors are dead as well, the game ends immediately. On the other hand, if it's 8 o'clock in the morning and some guests are still alive, all players will have 1 more final turn, and after that the game will be over. Count up the victory points of each player, and the player with the most points is the winner. In case of a tie, you can use the tiebreaker criteria in the rulebook. And that's how you play the Monster Slaughter. If you have any questions or comments, please put them into the comment sections below. If you like the show, please subscribe. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell. My name is Branislav Berec, and see you next time.